my name is Corey De La Torre, and I am a technical artist on Desolation. Desolation has been a fairly large undertaking, but we're extremely passionate about the world of Portal. With Desolation, we're creating something truly ambitious, not only in the story that we're trying to tell, but in how we're also modernizing the visual identity of Portal to match that. We spent the last year not only remastering the original art, but working on the underlying render. This has been a fairly careful process, and we knew early on that the Portal 2 identity was a very delicate thing to iterate on. So when we approached the idea, our underlying philosophy was, how would Aperture Science look if it got the same treatment City 17 did for its upgraded representation in Half-Life Alyx? In Desolation, we ended up splitting that goal into two unique components. We wanted surfaces to render much more realistically. In the original Portal 2, surface definition was fairly straightforward, almost binary in some senses. Some surfaces were shiny and some weren't. Rendering differences in surface types like metal, plastic, and cloth weren't really easily achievable back then. We've introduced a physically based render that now unifies and drives shading of all the surfaces in the world. But this change meant that the existing Portal 2 art and stock assets Valve had created wouldn't work under our new render. They were made at a time without any of these type of shading methods in mind. This meant we had to fully rebuild assets in the Portal 2 world from the ground up, not only taking the opportunity to increase the resolution of those assets, but to expand on their character by giving their material surfaces a stronger identity. Surfaces now reflect the world around them accurately, based on their roughness and their material type. Metals look like metals, puddles reflect the world around them, and rough surfaces like concrete and dirt absorb lighting. This change also meant that we needed an upgraded lighting system to match. The lighting in Portal 2 originally was static, baked in by artists during the map compile process. So, unfortunately, this made editing lights very tedious and required constant compiles to check changes in lighting. As maps grow bigger, with more light sources, compile times take longer and longer. These performance limitations are solvable now, so our second goal in modernizing Portal 2 was to entirely overhaul the core lighting system. Here's an old map, but still familiar, right? Jump Intro is the introductory map to Old Aperture. This is what it looked like in the original Portal 2 render. And here's that same map, but with our new lighting system in place. All the lights contributing to this scene are entirely real-time. This change wasn't only significant to improving the fidelity of Portal 2, but it solved a lot of workflow and world-building problems for our artists and lighters. Lights are no longer entirely static. They can now move and interact with the mechanical living nature of Aperture. Lighting is entirely real-time now. We place, edit, and control our lights directly in-game. Once a light is placed, it remains there until it's moved again by an artist. This change meant that we separated design and lighting iteration time. Designers can focus on gameplay and puzzle design, while artists can work freely in-game, iterating on lighting without worry. This change means we only have to compile visibility and collision for the world, reducing compile time from hours down to minutes. We've also worked on expanding the functionality of lighting. Lights will accurately reflect on surfaces based on their roughness. Lights will also cast real-time volumetrics in the world. Plus, lights can be set to flicker, pulse, or in general react uniquely to whatever environment scenario may be happening around them. Lastly, we've reapproached how we deal with local reflections in the scene. In Source's default render, key maps are placed around the map. They take images of the scenery around them and then recast that information back to all the surfaces that are near them. Because of this, reflections were entirely static runtime, giving artists very little to no control over how they looked or when they would appear. To improve upon this, we've adopted a method that we refer to as reflection probes. Reflection probes average lighting and recast that approximation onto the world around them. Both real-time and texture AO uses this result to properly drive where shadows should build up, allowing us to retain some of the nuances of light bouncing, soft shadowing, and occlusion. Not only are reflection probes driving the reflections, they also directly contribute to how a scene is being lit. We're still working hard on refining and polishing this ambitious graphical overhaul, so if you have any suggestions or feedback for us, please let us know. We really appreciate you tuning in and following along with our development process. It's been an incredible journey so far, and while we still have a long way to go, hopefully it'll be worth the wait. To learn more about Desolation, visit our website at emberspark.games. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for further updates and previews as development continues.